Yet here we are. Gentlemen, I'd like us to just focus a little bit on another conversation that is picking up steam. So there's, very quickly, now we want to have an office of the leader of opposition. I mean, what's happening? So
many things are happening.
And apparently there's two bills that are coming from both sides of the political divide on this.
Yeah, at least I've seen two bills.
Yeah.
I've seen a bill by the Member of Parliament for Bumula, Wamboka Wanami. He's seeking to amend the Political Parties Act through a Political Parties Amendment Bill of 2022. In this bill, he's seeking to introduce Section 38A of that Act to establish an office known as the Office of the Opposition Leader and another Office of the Deputy Opposition Leader. Yeah? Then, and that position is to be occupied by the person who finishes second in the presidential election. At the same time, there's another bill that is being worked on by the Azimio team. This one is now seeking to amend the Constitution, Article 92 of the Constitution. And it is to create Article 92A of the Constitution to have the Office of Official Opposition Leader or Leader of Opposition. And that leader is to be nominated by a political party or coalition of political parties which secures the second greatest number of votes in any concluded presidential election and whose political party receives at least 25% of all members of the National Assembly. That person there's also a proposal to create the Office of the Deputy Leader of Opposition, who shall be a candidate nominated by a political party or coalition of political parties that secures the second greatest number of votes in a concluded presidential election. And the term of this leader of official opposition and the deputy is to begin on the day the president is sworn in and end on the day the president hands over power. So generally is to answer the question of the person who finishes second goes where.
What happens to them?
If this person has this number of votes, maybe a third of the votes or a half of the votes or a quarter of the votes, whichever number of votes. So the question is, where does that person go? But I think it should go beyond creating a position of the leader of opposition and the deputy leader of opposition. The question should be, what are the structures? And does it sit in well with our current system of government, the presidential system of government that we have? Or do we want to go back to another one that we had, which was called a mixed structure of government that had a president, a prime minister? There's even a proposal to have cabinet secretaries come to parliament and respond to questions. Of course, that would take amendment of the standing orders. It's an easier route that way, to have ministers come to parliament and respond to questions. But now, where will the official leader of opposition sit? Will he sit in parliament? Will he sit outside parliament? What is the relationship between that leader of opposition with parliament? We know there's a relationship between the president, for example, and parliament. The president will come and address a sitting of the house. The president can address parliament at any other time if he has communication to make. There is a structure there. So at what point will the leader of opposition interact with parliament, for example? What are the powers of the official leader of opposition? Can he or she appoint a shadow cabinet? How far can they go? Of course, public resources will be used to finance that office. So there's a whole discussion there, which I think needs to be made a little tidy so that we also don't end up with a situation where you're creating positions to suit a certain political end, as opposed to having a structure that will put the government of the day in check.
What problem is this seeking to cure, Linus? I know, we passed this constitution and promulgated it, in August of 2010. And then, but, we said there was 80% of it that was good and there was 20% that, maybe might need some work. No constitution is perfect, no laws are perfect. But what is this? What are we trying to do here? What are we trying to fix or solve? Is there anything to be solved in the first place?
Absolutely a big issue to be resolved, a very, very big issue. And I want to refer you to the speech by President Ruto, then candidate Ruto, when he went to the Chatham House. and spoke and said one of the things that needs to happen is creation of the office of leader of official opposition. And he made some very strong arguments and said, but you get the second highest number of votes, what happens to you? Because the current arrangement really leaves whoever is got the second highest number of votes basically nowhere. You know, it means nothing at the end of the day. So remember, he spoke about the winner takes it all, and that is how he intended to cure it. You know, increasingly, one thing that will come out clearly in these political conversations is that, you know, all politicians, somehow all the ideas were in this BBI thing when it comes to especially sharing of power and all that. But there's the other fundamental issue that this country has always grappled with. And that is the issue of whether we should be a parliamentary system or we should be a presidential system. And the pure presidential system that was reached in Naivasha, preceding to the writing of this constitution, the arguments that, you know, it was informed more by, you know, the fears that existed between the two sides, the competition that then were witnessed even in Bomas during the 2005 drafting of the Constitution. So there is that struggle that is going on. And then there is just nostalgia of how it worked before 2010. And there are some things that are really admirable about how it worked in 2010. Before 2010, that is. How it worked before the promulgation of the new constitution, the leader of official opposition, everybody was an elected member of parliament as a primary level of qualification.
Including the president.
Including the president.
Yes.
Including the president.
Yeah.
And you know, there was something good about it. First of all, in having the leadership of the country under one roof and equal as members of parliament, even though unequal when it comes to the political positions that they were holding. I still think in 2008, part of the tension started going down during the swearing in of members of parliament, because Mwai Kibaki was seated there as member of parliament for Othaya. Raila Odinga was seated there as member of parliament for Langata constituency. Everybody was under the same roof. You can see this nostalgia also playing out in President Ruto's plan to have members of the cabinet go to parliament and answer questions, because really that is one thing that used to work about.
And it was something we struggled with in the previous administration, when cabinet secretaries would snub parliamentary summons, and, you know, there were technocrats and they were outside the political sphere and didn't always feel like they were answerable.
Really annoyed MPs.
Yes.
You see that this cabinet thing, the technocrat versus politician, political appointees, it's working like plastic surgery gone wrong. It's still yet to hold. You still can't feel it. Which is why you see with the Ruto administration, there are more politicians that have been pumped into the system.
Yeah.
Because some of the critics of the previous arrangement was that technocrats are not politicians. They don't even have political instincts, the people instincts.
Was there a sense in which they were not particularly accountable to the people? Or was that feeling? Yeah, because they were not elected by the people per se.
Yes, they reported to one center of power, and that is the
appointing authority.
President. I think there'll be a difference right now, because you find that these are politicians. Politicians go through a lot. I mean, to run for office in this country, whether it's an MCA or a parliamentary seat, just your people skills alone will grow overnight. So we'll have a different cabinet in terms of responsiveness. They'll understand people a bit more. So there's this nostalgia about what worked in the past, before 2010, and what is not working presently. And I think, and I want to categorize this thought of having the office of official leader of opposition as one of those things. And it used to work very, very well when Mwai Kibaki was on the dispatch box with Moi on the other side, and in his absence, leader of government business. The person that used to lead government business was
now known as majority leader, right?
Musalia Mudavadi was the last one, by the way.
Yes, that's right.
Last leader of...
Yvonne.
You get the last word, Francis.
Yes. I've had an opportunity to scan through the bill that is being worked on by the Azimio team. And vis-a-vis the one that has been brought by Wamboka Wanami. I haven't seen the one by Kenya Kwanza team. Maybe we'll get an opportunity to see it. I look at this, a proposal to bring Article 92A, sub-Article 2. And it has 13 functions for the leader of official opposition. One, to be a symbol of national unity. And then, hear this. Respect, uphold and safeguard the Constitution. I will jump, many of them go to scrutinize, criticize, and make suggestions of improvements to legislation, policies, and financial proposals by the government. Survey, appraise, and criticize government administration. Ventilate citizen grievances. Examine expenditures and public accounts. Seek information and clarification of government policy and directives. And hear this. Appoint a representative to sit in various select committees for recruitment into various constitutional and statutory commissions. And finally, surprise, surprise, address a special sitting of Parliament once every year and may address Parliament at any other time. So it's like what the president does,
the official
then create another line that the official leader of opposition will do almost a similar thing. So, but it also ignites in me that question of every problem, create a position for it.
Yeah.
Like the other day when we were talking about every challenge, create a fund for it.
Throw money at the problem.
Yeah.
Now it's throw
so create an office, create a fund.
Is that Wanamis?
Yeah.
What you have? Is that Wanami?
Yeah, no. This is another one that is being worked on by the Azimio team. Let's see how far it goes. But more importantly, Parliament is coming back on 14th of February. So a lot of work on the way.
Yeah, a lot of work on the way indeed. Linus, you want to say something? Because today, Francis is the one who gets to finish our show.
Very rare.
Very rare. You want to give us your final thoughts on this?
I think
we wait to see what happens with these bills.
And I think we should let Francis proceed with the creation of the Office of Leader.
Leader of Official Opposition. Yeah. Let me first create the Office of Leader of Punchline.